Okay, looking at the front cover, here's your cam position. This is your crank position. When I flip it over, here's your crank position, cam position sensor. Those are going to read off those marks that are on the tone wheel on the crank or off the camshaft. Right here, this hole is for when you change the injection pump, because it has a spring-loaded type two-piece gear. You have to unload the gear train in there in order to get the fuel pump in, but that's what that hole's for. It's just an access hole. So when you put these all together, these are the same. They have O-rings on them just like this. You want to lube that O-ring up. We're going to put those in. There. Run these in. This one's an Allen. They all torque to 89 inch-pounds. Those are torqued. We also have our oil pressure regulator. The oil pressure relief valve's in the pump. This is the oil pressure regulator. You want to change this O-ring when you pull these out. That goes right here. And how that works, when it overcomes a spring, there's a little hole right there that it allows the oil to bypass and come out right there. Oil pressure would come in here and bypass if it's too high. Otherwise, it should be closed most of the time. But this is kind of a unitized unit. Anyways, there's a spool valve and a spring in here that sets your oil pressure relief setting. Put this in, it torques to 29. Okay, that's ready. Now we're ready to put our front cover on. Okay, we're getting ready to install our front cover. There's an O-ring right here for the oil pressure relief valve that goes there. They call for a silicone. This is what they call for, aluminum silicone sealant. With this, basically what they want you to do is run it down by hand, let it set for an hour, and then torque it. I like this stuff. It's called anaerobic sealant. The difference is you put this on, and it doesn't cure until you take the air away from it. This is kind of my go-to on most things. It's made by Detroit Diesel, or Caterpillar has a brand as well. You can get it at your parts houses as well. Flange sealant is what they call it. And it doesn't take a whole lot of this. I'm going to put a small bead in here. Doesn't take a whole lot of this stuff. What's nice with this is you can work with it. Let's say you're putting something together and you're not able to get back to it and torque it right away. It won't cure until you actually torque it down and take the air away from it. Stuff's kind of expensive. This stuff's about $100 a tube. It's really, really good stuff. You can kind of smear it around a little bit if you want. It's not really necessary to do that. I like leaving a bead so it squishes it out and makes sure it hits all the voids. As long as all your surfaces are nice and clean, this stuff works really good. We're going to go ahead and install our front cover. We've got our bead of sealant on there. There's a guide pin right here, goes there and there. I've got the engine upside down. Might be easier to put this on the other way, but we're going to try it like this and see how that goes. Got to be super careful you don't get it on wrong. Oh, there's a guide bolt there. That's what I was missing. I'm going to say this is probably a long one here. And you got different lengths. These are all the same. A couple of long ones. So most of them are the same except for the two long ones. So this will go here, one here, one there. No, that's going to be a longer one. So there. No, that's a longer one as well. So there. Got one there. One. No, that's going to be a long one too. So here. That looks about right for that. Either one, I would say. One here. And you got to be kind of careful because they'll hide bolts on you to where they'll hold something else on. We may end up taking some out, but get them all started the best you can. Also got one here with a bracket. See if we can tell where that came from. So it's not that one for sure. Could be that one. That seems a little long, so I'm going to guess it either went on this side or this side. I can't tell from looking at the cover, so we'll just put it on there for now and readjust it when we need to. Bolt there and there, I'll have to find those. And there's also a nut here. Looks like another bolt there too. Okay, we're going to go ahead and torque these bolts down on the front cover. And there it just saw. You want to see it kind of mush the sealant out. Doesn't really matter, what you use. I'm going to go in a circular pattern. Try and tighten it down evenly. It's torqued to 18 foot-pounds. I've converted it to inch-pounds because my torque wrench only goes down to 10. Gasket stuff. Find out if that's a mistake or not. I hope not. I think I'm missing a bolt right there yet. It'll show up as I start putting stuff back together. I'm pretty sure this one goes here. We're going to find out. Anyways, that's... Actually, I shouldn't have put that one there. That is the water pump. That one would actually... But you can see in here how it's smushing the eliminator in there. That means it's doing what it's supposed to do. We're going to put this guy here. We got the water pump bolts here, here. Okay, we're installing the water pump. So I put a new O-ring on here. I lubed it. There's also a gasket that goes in here. I haven't put that in yet. I'll wait until I'm ready for it. I put this bolt in. It should not go there. I'll take that out. The hard part here is you want to make sure you have backlash between the gears. That's really hard to do on this one because you really can't get to the back side to turn this. You may get in this hole right here. You might be able to. It's a gear-driven water pump, so that's the part you got to be. Okay. Usually what I would do is I'd get in there and grab a hold of that gear, make sure I have backlash. There's a bolt here, and there's a nut that goes torqued to 18 foot-pounds. So we'll run those up and torque them here in a sec. Come around like this, torque, 18 foot-pounds. I got a pair of pliers like this that I can get inside here, and I want to check backlash. You got to kind of feel around, get a hold of the shaft, and kind of feel it wiggle back and forth. That tells you it shouldn't wipe out the gear once it starts. This is what they call a unitized seal. This piece goes on the crankshaft, this piece right here. This piece goes in the front cover. It's got a felt seal here. The felt seal basically keeps the dirt out. So what I've done, that's the old seal. The unitized piece basically means that the wear surface is inside the seal. Got the new one on here, got it started on there. What I did, and this is not the GM approved, I found this seal installer on Amazon. But what I did is I went and found some small washers and the crank bolt, and I coated all the faces with anti-seize. It has keyways, so I'm going to put the keyway in, make sure it lines up, and then I'm going to go ahead and tighten it down, see how this works without using the impact gun. But essentially what I did is I looked at it without the seal in there, and it put it at the correct depth. So we're going to run this in and just see what happens. I also looped the threads with anti-seize so that it holds nice and even. The service manual says to lube the oil sealing surfaces with engine oil. That's kind of a tough one because both of the surfaces, right here and right here, they're metal. This has got like a rubberized coating on it here. So I went ahead and put some oil on the rubberized coat. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this in until it stops. There it stopped. I'm going to go ahead and pull it back off because I didn't use the washer that holds the vibration dampener on. That looks pretty good to me as far as depth goes. What I could do is I could take these two washers that I went and found, take them off, and put this big thick washer on. And you can see the thickness difference there. It's quite a bit. They show a little bit different tool in the book. If I run that down until it's flush, it should be good. But anyways, you want to make sure you use the correct front and rear main seal tool to install these. Otherwise, they will leak. I almost hear it. Okay, looking at the seal, I think it needs to go in just a little bit farther. Make sure I didn't hit the pin or the keyway. Didn't do anything to screw it up. This side has anti-seize on it. I'm going to put a little bit more on this side just to make sure that it goes in smoothly. So these front seals, like I say, if you don't put them in correctly, you'll have problems later on down the road. So now, I'm going to put something inside the crankcase. Keep the engine from turning. Be careful where it's getting to. It's good and tight, so it should be good as far as how deep it goes. I have to come back here and hold the crank someplace so that it doesn't turn. That makes our front seal installed. Like I said, there usually would be a bolt with that's threaded all the way that would have a nut on it that you could run in and make sure that it's seated all the way. But this one won't go any farther, so we should be good. You see the seal lip kind of went past the little chamfer. You could set them in or out if you had a problem with sealing, or you could also put some sort of anaerobic sealant, something in there to help seal up if it were leaking here or around here. Okay, we're going to install the balancer. There's two ways of doing it. We need the keyway right here to line up with this keyway here. We're going to inspect it really good before we put this on, by the way. It's either 260 foot-pounds or you go 74 foot-pounds and 105 degrees, which is kind of a weird one. But essentially that 1.5 hexes. So we'll go ahead and mark it once we get it close. I went ahead and lubricated the backside of the washer, the backside of the head, and the thread. Put bolts in the back of the flywheel to lock it. There's my 74. Mark it for 105 degrees. Here's 0. Here's 30, 60, 90. This is 120, and we put the mark right in between the 90 and 120. That's 105. So we're going to go ahead and turn this mark to that mark. What I did is I went ahead and put a mark on the socket where the point is. Basically going to turn that until it meets the other mark, because the engine's going to try and turn on me. I'm going to put a pry bar on this thing to kind of help. Makes it super tight. So essentially what I did, you can see the mark on my socket. I made it match that. That's 105 degrees.